Hey guys, it's Exa and welcome back to my channel. This week I thought it would be really fun to do another DIY dress tutorial. I got such great reviews for my ball-gown skirt, kind of loosely inspired by Ariana Grande's giant, beautiful gray tulle gown. So this time I thought I would try to recreate Kylie Jenner's dress that she didn't wear to the Met Ball, but was featured on the Life of Kylie show. It came out so beautiful, and Donatella Versace did such an amazing job coming up with that beautiful cage design, but still having the flowy tulle skirt at the bottom. It was just so chic and beautiful, and I thought, you know what, I bet I can figure out how to make one. So if you're watching this, then that must mean it was a success. Stay tuned to see how we created it. Alright guys, so for this project we'll be starting with this really simple gold glitter dress I picked up on Amazon for about $15. I also picked up this pretty ivory cream colored satin ribbon. It is about 1 inch thick, and I believe this was about $6 for 15 yards. So for the sheer fabric at the bottom of the skirt, I'm actually using a curtain because this curtain was only $8, whereas buying a whole yard of material was more than I needed and cost about $10 a yard. And finally, we will need our matching thread and some needles. I would recommend getting a thread that is closely matched to the ribbon. So, since the top of my dress is more of a scoop neck style and Kylie's is a deeper V, the first thing I did was cut that open and then fold the sides over to make that V shape. I will get this part stitched down when I start attaching the ivory trim across the top like so. So to stitch these down, I just have the folded over piece with my ribbon in front, and I'm going from the needle from the back to the front, right on the edge of the ribbon, just enough that it's not going to show very much, but also will be nice and secure, and looping over the side. I'm going to go all the way up this side and then go back down the other side, so that way the ribbon is secured on both edges and isn't going to like come away from the dress when you're wearing it. Here you can see one side is completely stitched down, so now I'm just going to go back around and secure the ends and then go down the other side. So to do this inner side, I'm making stitches that go out through the edge of the ribbon and then back in through the solid gold fabric, so that way it's making little sideways stitches that look like the ones wrapping around the edge on the other side. Alright, so now that top piece has been lined with the ribbon, so we're going to go ahead and continue down the other sides. Here I'm just going to measure and cut for the distance from the other side of the top of the halter to the back where this little corset detail is on my dress. If yours doesn't have a corset, then you might want to just go all the way around the back. So I'm going to be starting with the two longest straps, which are going to encompass the halter and then go all the way down to be part of the cage. So you want to make sure that from the top point where each triangle on the breast comes together, that you want to leave about 20 inches above that, so that way the halter has enough room to go around and be able to tie in a knot or bow. I will then measure from that same point all the way down my body to the knees. You do want to make sure that you are accounting for the contours of your body around the bust and around your hips to make sure that you're still going to get the ribbon to end around the knees and it won't end up being too short when it's tucked up against your shape. It's measured, we can go ahead and start sewing it down. So as you can see, by putting this centerpiece in front of the two lining the top edges, it's going to hide those rough seams from where I'd cut those pieces of ribbon. So now that one side has been attached to that waist point, we're going to go ahead and do the other side. Here's a breakdown of where the rest of the ribbons are going to go. So on the front we have our two longest ones that are in yellow. There will be one coming from the center point, that is shown in green, and then there will be two straight down either side where the seams of the dress are in blue. To the back, you can see I have those same blue side ones outlined, and then there will be four on the back on either side. Mine got a little tricky because it did have that little corset section in the middle, so I ended up putting the two orange ones directly on the edges of the corset and then centering the purples between the blue ones on the side and the orange ones. So to make sure that I have nice seams all the way around, I did tuck about a ½ inch of ribbon over the edge on each of the tops and then sewed across to kind of hold it down so that way you have a nice clean edge shown. And then I'm going to go ahead and continue the same applique process I had on the other ribbons to just attach it down to that waist point. Alright, so now we have the front all attached on the top, so I'm going to go ahead and lay out the ones for the back. As you can see, there's that corset I was talking about, and we can go ahead and do the same thing to stitch these ones down. So. For the record, it did take me probably a good 6 hours or so to sew all of these straps down. I was kind of going slow and taking my time and being very careful. Now you could probably sew this on a machine if you wanted to, but like I've said in an earlier video, my sewing machine is broken and I still haven't figured out how to fix it yet. But I also kind of like when you're doing this kind of detailed applique work, doing it by hand because you just kind of get more precise with your placement. Alright guys, so I finally got all the vertical strips attached to the top. It took me a good 8 hours probably to hand stitch them all on. If you're using a sewing machine, it'll go way faster, and I think it's coming out very great. So next we're going to work on the cage, and then we'll attach the train on the back at the end. Alright, so we're going to have 4 sections going around for this cage. One is right at the waist, one is right around your hips, one kind of on the widest part of your thighs, and then one just above the knees. So we're going to measure around each of those to get the length and then add 4 or 5 inches to make sure that we have enough room for it to kind of drape and curve around your body. Once those are cut, I'm going to bring the ends together and just stitch them down so that way they are one continuous loop. You don't have to worry about how nice the stitches are going to look because we're going to hide this one behind one of the vertical strips coming down, so you'll only see it from the inside. So now I'm kind of laying out the first one, which is going to be right around my hips. If you look at Kylie's, you'll see that it does kind of have a curve going down to kind of perfect that hourglass shape. So we're going to go ahead and start attaching it in the same fashion. Now I want these stitches to be super small and hidden, so I'm just really, really carefully making tiny little stitches that loop over, connecting the ribbons on each side. Making sure that I'm going down the side of the ribbon that's in front so that way you're not going to see any of the stitches cutting off the middle of that ribbon. So they'll be really small and look something like this. Then I'm just going to continue and do the same thing on the other side and then attach all the other straps, just going piece by piece until my one circular ribbon has been attached to all of my vertical pieces coming down. Once this first one's attached, it's going to look something like this and kind of drape around the body. So once I attach the rest of them, it's going to look something like this. And I did make each horizontal row about 5 inches apart from one another. Alright, so starting on my skirt, I did measure from the knees to the ground, which is about 2 feet for me on the front of this dress. And then on the back, we do want to have a bit of a train, so I'm making that one about 3.5 feet long. And then I'm just going to cut it out in this curve so we can go ahead and sew it on. Alright, so to look like Kylie's, we're going to line up where the two edges meet in the center on the front, so that way it's going to open when you walk. Alright, so I'm going to start by just putting a couple little stitches just to hold those two pieces together in the middle. And then I'm going to go ahead and start attaching them, again in that center vertical ribbon point, to the bottom of the skirt. So I'm going to put the sheer material on the back side, so that way you're not going to see the rough edge, you're just going to see the pretty ribbon around the front. And then again, make those same tiny little stitches going down the side so they're not very noticeable. Here's a bit of a close-up. You can see I'm just making small little stitches going around. Now in this view, you can also see that there are some folds in the fabric. I did do that because the amount I had cut was significantly longer than the amount around my legs, which again, I wanted it to be, so that way it will flow as I walk around. I did position most of these tucks lining up evenly towards the back, because that's where I want the most volume to be. I didn't really want a lot of volume in that front section. So here we are with all of the sheer fabric attached on the bottom. Well guys, there you have it, one completed Met Gala gown, and I am ready for my fancy red carpet event that I will probably never be going to, but it was really fun to make regardless, and I think it came out spectacularly for pictures. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I love all of you and can't wait to see what other suggestions for crazy DIY replicas I should create. Until next time, I hope your day is as beautiful as you are.